Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into my channel. Today's video is going to be something a little different. As you can see by the title, I'm going to be sharing with you all my story about being celibate. So to give you some background about myself, like you all know, my name is Shanice. I am 21 years old. I will be 22 next month. I am a senior in college and I've been celibate for 3 years. So my celibacy anniversary just passed in February. So I've been celibate for 3 years. I decided to be celibate when I was a freshman in 2013. This video is not for anyone to judge me. Like, this is really because I want to share my story with someone else, because I feel like there are people that need to hear it because it will inspire them to not do things that I've done. So, you know, this is a judgment-free zone. Okay, right. So I lost my virginity when I was 14 years old. Yeah. So, okay. The goal is to be really transparent with y'all. So, yes, I was 14 years old when I lost my virginity, right? And it was to my boyfriend at the time. I thought I knew what I was doing. I honestly felt like I was peer pressured by some of the girls that were older than me that I knew, because they were having sex. And it was kind of like, well, if you don't have sex with him, you know, he's going to leave you. And at the time, you know, your boyfriend is your world, so I did it. I do not regret it. Do I wish that I was a little bit older? Sure. But I don't regret it because I know that even though I did that at such a young age, it makes me who I am today. So for anyone out there who may have lost their virginity at 14, 13, 17, it doesn't matter. Don't let other people's opinions of you make you shameful of your story. Okay, so lost my virginity when I was 14. I had sex with my boyfriend, with then boyfriend, and then we broke up. You know, you get a next boyfriend, we had sex, we broke up. The next boyfriend, we had sex, and you know how that goes. And I always felt like, even though the guys I was interacting myself with, I never felt like they knew me for who I really was. I felt like sex was all I really had to offer. So when I came to college, I was like, you know, I'm really gonna chill out. I'm not gonna have sex. I'm just gonna wait until like I get a nice boyfriend where I feel like we're going somewhere. You know, I wanted to be different when I came to college. So my freshman year is when I got my first college boyfriend, and like, he was older than me. He went to a different school, but like, we saw each other, you know, whenever he would come to visit, and I liked him. He was good looking, and I was like, you know, okay, cool, I have me a boyfriend. And we weren't even like talking for that long before we had sex, and it was just like, I shouldn't have done this. So throughout our relationship, one, I wasn't developed as a woman. Like, I was very insecure. So if I ever saw him talking to any other girl, or you know, he said, she said, oh, he was talking to her, I was like, oh, who is she, da 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 da. You know, I was really jealous. And I'm not always the type to vocalize when I'm mad at somebody. So I would keep things to myself and keep it bottled up. And like, you might know I'm mad, but it's like, we're not going to talk about it. And then we don't talk about it. I didn't talk about my problems. And then we would just have sex. Like, if I was mad, and then it goes back to normal. Like, we're good. We had sex. Like, we're good now. But in reality, no, we're not good. Like, we still have problems. So I felt like, being in that relationship, that sex was kind of the main focal point of our relationship. Like, I don't feel like we knew each other that deeply, but we just had sex. And at that point, after we broke up like a few months later. Like, it wasn't even that long a relationship. After we broke up, I realized that I was letting sex hold too much of weight in my relationships, and I felt like this is all I have to offer. But I knew it wasn't, because at the time I had someone great like pouring into my life, and she was abstinent, is waiting until she got married to have sex. So I was just like, you know, there is another way to do this. So I decided that I was gonna stop having sex with guys until I got into a relationship where I felt like we were really going somewhere. And it wasn't like a 90-day rule or a certain amount of dates. It wasn't like that. It was until like I felt like, you know, he loves me and we're going somewhere with this. And when I get to that point, that is when I'll have sex. So it's kind of like a 90-day rule, but it wasn't. It was something deeper than that. So I figured, when I decided this in my head, that I would have a boyfriend maybe like a few months later, 6 months, something like that, you know. Well, I've been single for 3 years, so I never got a boyfriend, so I never had sex since I made that decision. So fast forward to a year into my celibacy, and I was like, you know, this really means a lot to me. Like, I don't want to get a boyfriend, then we have sex, and then we break up, and then now I'm giving my celibacy, so I have to start over. Like, I didn't want that to happen. I decided then that my celibacy meant a lot to me. It was kind of like being a virgin again, you know, like a born again virgin. I decided that my celibacy meant a lot to me, so that I was going to wait until I got married to have sex. And when I first decided to do that, I was like, oh, you know, this is going to be hard. Because I had been sexually active before. I knew what sex felt like, and I liked it. But I also, at the time, was learning the purpose of marriage and what God's plan was for a man and a woman, and how it wasn't for a woman to share their body with multiple men. And I just felt like I wanted to know what it was like for someone to truly love me, it had nothing to do with my body and nothing with what I could do for you physically. So that's when I decided that, you know, I'm gonna wait till I get married. Prior to me knowing Christ and even really knowing the value of sex, my definition of sex was basically that there's this man, this woman, we're gonna come together, do what we want to do because it feels good, and that's it, right? But after knowing Christ, I've learned that sex is supposed to be between a man and a wife, and it's to unify the two of them where their souls exchange. You know, so if you've ever been with somebody, you've had sex with them, y'all have broken up, you're trying to move on, but when you see them, you still feel some type of way, that's a soul tie. So because you've had sex with that person, there is an exchange in your spirit that has happened. So part of them is in you, and part of you is in them. And when you've broken yourself off from that person, your soul is still like, I still have a connection to you, like you can't go anywhere, you know. And that's kind of guys like, oh, women are crazy, but we're not crazy. It's that we have a soul tied to you because we've given something to you that was supposed to only be given to our husbands. Because if you're truly only having sex with the person that you are meant to be with, you don't have those problems, because if we're not gonna break up, you know. So a soul tie to my husband is something different than a soul tie to any old random. It feels good physically, but the feeling, and y'all know, after you've had sex with somebody and y'all aren't together anymore, when you see them, it's like, you know, you still kind of want to be with him, or you still kind of hate him for what he did to you, or even vice versa for guys. Like, there's still something in you that feels something when that person comes around, and that's because you have now made an exchange with spirits with them. So now your souls are tied together. And I'm not gonna say everyone's experienced a soul tie, but if you have, you know that it's a heavy burden to bear, because when you see that person, it's either, oh, I want to be back with him, I love him, I need him, da 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 da, or it's, I hate him. You know. And I've experienced soul ties, and it's something that you have to pray over constantly for God to really break this soul tie, and it takes a lot of work. And I realized I didn't want to have my soul tied to so many different men. Like, that's not the way to go. The reasons that I decided to become celibate is because I wanted someone to get to know me for who I truly was. Not because of what I had to offer physically, but because they were truly interested in who Shanice is. 2 is because I want to experience a level of intimacy with my husband one day that I can't get from men out here that aren't meant to be my husband. So although we may have sex and it may feel good, like I said, there's a deeper level of intimacy that's meant for you and your husband that you can't feel with other men. So I wanted to be able to feel that and know what that felt like. And then 3, because now my celibacy means being in closer connection with God, because being celibate, being abstinent draws out people. Like, it weeds them out. So like when a guy wants to talk to me and a few weeks in we're texting, you know, you like me, okay, so let me tell you, I'm celibate. I'm not gonna have sex with you unless we get married. Oh, the text messages miraculously stopped coming. All right, that's cool. You know, because a lot of guys my age are sexually active. That's fine. I don't really care, because you're not the person I want to be with. So it weeds out guys, and it helps me stay closer to God. So those are 3 reasons why I decided to be celibate. You know, whatever reason that you may choose, different people have different stories. I just know for me, at that point in my life, it was something that I had to do because I didn't like who I was, and I didn't like my interactions with men. So when you think of what a soul tie is, imagine if you have 2 pieces of paper, right? I've now glued them together. Super glue, Gorilla Glue, whatever kind of glue you got. Right? This is the man, the woman having sex, right? They're glued together. Now, take those papers apart, right? These are my hands, so you can't see it. But if you were to rip those two papers apart, the papers are never the same afterwards, because part of you has stuck onto him and part of him has stuck onto you. So although you may have gone your separate ways, there is still residue from that past that is on you. And that is what a soul tie is like. So now, okay, so my camera died. Sorry, but where were we? So those two pieces of paper will never be the same, because there's residue from him on you and you on him. So even though, you know, you're trying to get those small pieces of him off of you, it's going to be hard. And that's where, you know, prayer and the help of God comes in to like help you get back to what you were. But because you've done it, it's kind of like, dang, I can never be the same. But because we believe in Jesus Christ and because we believe in full restoration, you know that you can be the same. And you can be, you know, a whole person again, but that's always going to be part of you. That residue is always going to be there. So for me, being celibate was the right decision. And now that it's been 3 years, like I really cherish my celibacy and I love it. I've grown so much, like with the help of God, because through, like when I started building my relationship with God is also when I became celibate. So these 3 years have been me and God while being celibate. So it's helped me not to have as many distractions from God, but it's also hard. Like, I'm not gonna sit up here and tell y'all that it's like the easiest thing in the world, right? Okay, so being celibate, like, people have different definitions of what sex is, to be honest. So there are people that believe like they're celibate, but they will still have oral sex because it's not like penetration. And you make your own definition for what you want. If you don't want to do anything at all, that's on you. If you want to continue having oral sex, that's on you, right? So for me, one of the hardest things that I had to deal with was setting my boundaries for what I could do. And through these 3 years, like I said, it has not been easy. So I've definitely slipped up and I've definitely done things that I wish that I shouldn't have done. But it's all been like a lesson and it's been a journey, and it's helped me to know now the things that I don't want to happen again. So somebody wants to like sleep over, like, oh, let me like, you know, lay in your bed, we can cuddle, we don't have to have sex. Like, no, like, you want to rub my booty? Let's not. We're not going to do that, because then I'm going to want to, you know, have sex, and that's not the goal here. So that is something to really stray away from, especially if you're in college, because he could live right across the hall from you or in a dorm that's across the street, and he want to come over and he knows that you're celibate and he knows that you don't want to have sex with him, but he kind of just wants to touch on you and, oh, just let me, you know, do this, da da da. Like, that's not sex. Girl, don't get caught up. Like, that is honestly like one of the hardest things, is knowing what your limits are. And I've had friends that I know that are celibate and that have had sex, you know, and it's like, it's hard, and there will be times that you can fall, but just know that you're forgiven and that your journey is your journey, and it's called a journey for a reason, because there can be things that happen on it that you might not be proud of, that you wish didn't happen, but you're still going to get up and keep walking and keep learning and keep growing in Christ. So we'll talk about like the 3 years of my celibacy, breaking down into like my advice for each year. So first year is when you tell people that you may have had sex with before, or like your friends that you're celibate, and they're like, what? People will try to remind you of your past, and they'll tell you like, girl, no, but you used to be doing X, Y, and Z. Okay, that's who I was, but that's not who I am now. So that's one of the hardest things, is telling people and them reminding you of your past, and then you letting them know, like, even though that's who I was, this is who I am now, and by the grace of God, I'm changing and I'm growing, so mind your business. Like, that's one of the hardest things. The second hardest thing is when you are interested in a guy and you have to tell them that you're celibate. Like, did y'all see that meme? And it was like, after you text him that you're celibate and you wait for his reply. That was hilarious, because honestly, telling guys that you really like that you're celibate, that you know are not celibate or that are sexually active, is hard, because most likely sometimes it doesn't work out, because a lot of guys at this age are not interested in giving up sex. So I remember, I'll never forget, this was like 6 months into me being celibate. Not even 6 months, because it was like early in the summertime. A guy came over my house to chill, And like he was my friend, and like, you know, I liked him. We had talked before. And basically he was trying to have sex, and I was like, no. You know, and yet this boy cussed me out. Like, was like, that's dumb. Like, nobody's gonna wait for you till you get married to have sex. Like, you've had sex before, you might as well do it. Like, you're never gonna be in a relationship, da 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 da. And I remember when he left, I cried, y'all, because I just felt so bad. I felt like he was right. I was like, you know, maybe nobody is going to want to be with me because I'm not having sex. But then, you know, always have a support system of people that are really for you and really pushing you to be celibate. I remember just texting one of my friends, like telling her exactly what happened and her encouraging me through it all. So you always have to have that support system. And then from then, I would tell guys pretty soon, like, you know, well, you know, I'm glad that you're interested in me, but I will let you know that I am celibate. I will not be having sex until I get married. And then now the ball is in your court. Most people say, oh, word, okay, that's cool. Or, you know, some people like, really? Let's see what else. And there's just other random responses like, yeah, there will be people that will try to break you. There are people, like there are guys that are just like, you know, she told me she's celibate, but I'm gonna still try it because I know I could do it. Why you want to do that to me? Like, why? Why? You know I'm out here trying to grow with Christ. Why are you trying to play me? So you have to be wary of that too. People that are going to try to break your celibacy. So second year of being celibate is when I learned, like before, how I said about cuddling and Netflix and chill. He want to come over and lay in the bed. That's the year when I really learned, like this can't happen. I can't do this with you because it's tempting me to do things that I don't want to do. Also, in my second year of celibacy, I learned that things that didn't mean anything to you before now mean more to you since you've taken sex off the table. So for me, a kiss means more to me now than it did when I was sexually active. So if I extend myself to you and we kiss, like that's, I mean, of course it's not having sex, but that means that, you know, that means that I really like you and now I'm giving, you know, some of myself to you. We've kind of, you know, made like a little connection. So I've learned like to be wary of, you know, who I'm kissing because it's still a different type of connection. It might not be as deep as sex, but it's still something because I'm not having sex. And in my third year of celibacy, in this last year, I've learned that there are certain people that I just do not want in my space at all. Like, I don't want you in my room. I don't want you near my bed. Like, don't even come over here. I learned there are people that are really out to get you and that are trying to break you, and it can be very hard. I learned there are people that are your friends that you thought were for you that will encourage you to have sex. So you have, like I said before, you have to have that connection with someone who is, they might not be celibate, they might be married, but there's someone that's encouraging you to continue on your journey. I also learned in this third year that temptation is real. For the first time in this last year, I experienced, like, in my body, I just felt like the need to want to have sex. And I was just like, you know, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Like I felt like I had to do it, and I didn't, but I just, like, I was praying constantly, and I would get in my bed, I would just be like, oh my God, like I really, like, just want to have sex. And it was hard, but it was something that I got through. And through that, like, I had to, like, kind of purge myself from certain things, so I'm not watching movies. If y'all didn't see my last video about influences, I wasn't watching certain videos. I had to stay off Instagram, and I couldn't look at my Man Crush Mondays, or I couldn't be watching, like, just certain things because they were pouring into me and making me want to have sex. So I had to purge myself and really focus on what my end goal is. And doing that, and what helps me do that is honestly thinking of my future husband and thinking of what it's going to be like to be with him, and what it's going to be like to be able to know that for a X amount of years I've devoted myself to a life of singleness because, one, I care about my relationship with God, and then two, I care about my future husband. Like, I want my heart to be fully ready for his whenever we do meet, you know. And when it is time for us to get married, I want to know that I've purged myself from the things that don't belong in my heart before it was time for me to be with him. Like, I don't want to bring any toxic things into our relationship, so I had to learn how to really, like, clean my heart. A few tips if you are recently celibate or deciding to be celibate is don't let anyone influence your decision. There are going to be people who are going to tell you that that's crazy, like nobody's doing that. But there are people that are doing that. I'm doing that. So that's what this video is for. And to let somebody who's in the process of making the decision or they've been celibate for a few months know that there are other people that are doing it. If you need help, holla at your girl. I will give you some advice. It is totally worth it. And I can't wait until the day that I can marry my husband. And of course we have sex, but that's not the biggest goal. The goal is to have a deeper connection with him and to know that he truly loves me for who I am. And also to just be wary of your space. Be wary of the people that you're letting surround you, the people that you're letting influence you, and know that all things work for the good of those that love the Lord. So if you love God and you are trying this thing, God sees you working, boo. He sees you trying and he got your back and he's going to help you prevail. It may not be perfect. You may fall. And I know when I made mistakes on my journey, I remember one day just crying in the shower for hours. And I was just like, God, like, I feel so dirty. Like, I didn't mean to do this. I didn't want to do this. But know that God is forgiving you. And that's not an excuse to go ahead and do things that you know you shouldn't do. But in the case if you do slip up, know that it's okay and that God is forgiving you and to continue on your journey. So the goal of this video is to encourage you that if you're thinking about being celibate, to know that you can do it and that it is totally worth it. And if you are doing it, I encourage you, if you ever need somebody to talk to, you can talk to the kid, because I'm like, out of my friends, I'm like one of the only ones that isn't sexually active. So it can be weird sometimes when they're talking about sex and I'm just like, oh. So yeah, thank you for tuning into this video. Shout out to all my girls that are celibate. And if you are waiting to make that decision, girl, just go ahead and do it. Listen to God because he is calling you. And I know that making the decision to be celibate can be really hard because you think that you're going to be lonely and that nobody's going to want you, but that's not what it is. A life of celibacy means that the people that are in my life genuinely want to be here because they love me and they are interested in really getting to know me for who I am, who God has created my character to be, and who I am in my heart, not because of the physical things that I can do for you. Right? So I hope this video encouraged somebody. I hope that sharing my story has inspired you to share your story. Because telling your story, you never know who you're inspiring. Right? So don't forget to like it, comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Snapchat. Let the kid know what's up. If you're celibate and this has helped you, or if you're deciding and this has helped you, let me know. If you want some new videos, let me know what y'all want to see. I got some new weave. I'm going to do a review. Okay, I'm going to go because I'm hungry. So